Welcome back, everyone. It's good to see you all. I know you saw me on Sunday, but that's the radio show. This is something different. So, all right, there's kind of five categories of things that I plan on covering today. First is channel news, where I give updates on what's going on. Second, upcoming episodes. Third, we'll do a quick geopolitical update. There's something important that happened on Sunday evening that none of the major newspapers in the United States failed, or none of them seem to have covered, and it's actually fairly monumental, almost earth-shattering in terms of what it means for the United States, and the fact that none of it was very scarcely reported. It's very difficult to find information on it, but it's real. The fact that that was scarcely reported is kind of another indicator that it is very bad news. So I will get into that and explain it, and I'll explain why it's very bad news. Anyway, we live in a kind of there's lots of propaganda. So the fact that we're not hearing about it is pretty disturbing. Anyway, the fourth part that I'm going to talk about is I'm going to say a little bit about the nature of the phenomenon, what it could be, where I'm leaning. At least that doesn't mean I'm right or in the in the correct direction, but I'm certainly leaning a certain way. Sorry, I have somebody like texting, and it's extremely annoying. Anyway, so I just shut off my phone. Okay, and then last we'll just do some. Lastly, we'll just do some Q&A. Sorry for that delay. My iPhone had to tell me that it was lost twice, and I'm still getting pinged, and it won't stop. It's really driving me crazy. Okay, all right, that is out of the way. Okay, so let's start a little bit with channel news. So I have some bad news, and I have some not so bad news. I wouldn't call it good news, but at least for the channel, it's good news for me. It's really good news for me. So I've taken about 2.5 years to focus on this channel, to focus on several side businesses, which I've been able to build the combination of those many things into a greater than like six-figure business. However, it didn't remotely come close to anything that I was making in the past. And sorry, there's a lot of noise here, so I have to yell when people are making a ton of noise. Um, so it wasn't anywhere near approaching kind of the income I was gaining from employment. So without any work, I mean, literally, I did nothing. I didn't send out resumes. I didn't send out anything like that. But I have a pretty good reputation as an operator in hyper growth companies. And I kind of went through pretty passively a process, and I was given an offer. So the good news for me is that I'm taking that offer, which the bad news for the channel is that I'm going to have significantly less time for the channel. However, I will have significantly more resources to invest in the channel. So, in other words, I will have significantly less time, but significantly more dollars to invest. So, I just have to figure that out in terms of look, if I had my druthers, I would do this full time. But the YouTube portion of all the stuff that I do is less than 3%, I would say, of my income comes from YouTube. So, but it's what I enjoy the most and probably what I spend the most time on. The majority of my income comes from building financial models for startups, as well as doing consulting work, not consulting work, but contractor work for a local uh, business school that you would have heard of if I were to say, but I'm not. I'm not. Uh, I'm not, kind of going to be doing the consulting work other than existing clients that I have once in a blue moon, kind of updating models and things like that. We'll still be working with that university because it adds prestige to the role and things like that. But what I'm trying to say is there will be a transition period. So I'm not giving up on the channel. I'll be very clear about that. But I'm going to have to be a lot more strategic about what I do. So it could mean one episode a week. But if all I had to do was interview people, I would be able to maintain the same amount of content. I might end up hiring people to do editing, things like that. But I kind of like the editing. I don't like the audio editing, but I do that. So I'm still thinking through things like that in order to. But given the effort and the time that I put into this, the fact that I'm still not at 10,000 subscribers 2.5 years in is it's not good. Like it's not as a like a business person, that's not that's not an adequate return on investment. So I had always told myself if by the end of 3 years I'm not at 10,000, I'm done. It's over. I'm not going to spend any more time. And in the last 3 months, I thought I was going to hit 10,000 in May, and I'm not even close. And with each day, I'm getting fewer and fewer, lower and lower subscriber growth. So that is actually, I didn't think that was a realistic scenario, but it actually is a realistic scenario, right? And I can just, if you do the math, if I'm at, we're in June. If I take where I am right now, I'd need about 1,200 more subscribers to hit that milestone. So if I got 300 subscribers, each month I'd be able to make it. I would still be able to make it. But if it were to continue to decline at the rate that it is, just the rate of increase is declining. I'm not so sure about it. But given the production quality, given the things that I have, the time and effort I put into the channel, it's like a gear that's not moving, right? It's like that gear that's just spinning and it's not attached to anything and it's not, making, moving larger gears. And I don't know why that is. Maybe the channel's just not that good, right? It could be that I'm just, not that compelling. It's not that interesting. I don't think that's the case from the feedback that I get, but who knows? Could it be the YouTube algorithm? Sure, could be. I don't know, but I'm not gonna get rid of this entirely. I spent way too much time on it, and that's the fallacy of sunk costs. And I can't let that get to me either. But I think it may end up being one episode a week, something like that. Um, or if I'm able to hire help, maybe I can get a little bit further along. So the good news is my son is home for the summer, so I'm probably going to be hiring him a little bit to just take care of loose ends and help me kind of get as many guests in the hopper before I actually have to start. Because once it starts, when I get a new finance job, it's usually 80 to 100 hours a week. It's just the way it is. Now that tapers off dramatically because and that's usually the first 3 months because I just rebuild everything. I create processes that run really well, and then after that, it goes down a lot because I'm able to delegate and leverage and all that stuff. So there might be a really rough transition period. Again, there's nothing more than I love than doing this, but when I when I get an offer that on an annual basis is 6 times what I made in the last 2 years in 1 year, I can't ignore that, right? I have two kids in college, or one's about to go into college, and I can't ignore that. So let me just look at the comments. um, no, it's not. It's not done. It's definitely not done. Channel is definitely not done. I don't want to give people. Yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you for the it's just gonna be stressful. I'm gonna be very stressed out. So, um, unfortunately, money is a motivator for, in terms of but again, let's not I'm trading time for money. So, I will have more money to invest, and if I do it properly, uh, just stick with me, and we'll kinda get through the transition, and, like, I'm gonna continue doing this. I mean, all of June is done. I have the first week of July recorded. I have, an interview with, a really interesting guest kinda scheduled in July. So, I appreciate that, Woo Riders DG. But again, I'm like kind of a doomer too, so just I'm gonna present the worst case scenario, and then hopefully it is better than that because I really like doing this, and I wouldn't have been able to sustain it for 2.5 years if I didn't really enjoy it. Like, I really love doing it. So, I just, I have to decide how much sleep I want to ignore because that's what the trade-off is gonna be. Um but again, I'm not building financial models for other people and all that stuff anymore. I'll just be doing it for one organization and then building off of that and whatnot. So, and I will have people reporting to me and all that stuff who will help. But at the very beginning, I'm very hands on. Like, I rebuild everything because that's just the way I am. So anyway, just take it with a grain of salt. I'm still pushing. I still plan to do this. It might just be a little bit less, uh, and just you would just kind of leave it at that because I've done I think close to or slightly more than 500 videos in 2.5 years, which is insane. So there's a solid base, and then um, we'll see, and I may hire like a consultant, like a YouTube consultant, to figure out what the hell I'm doing wrong, in order, like, in terms of what I could be doing better to gain more subscribers. But anyway, I don't I don't start for like another month. So, and frankly, I hadn't signed the agreement. Like, I still have to sign the offer and all that stuff because there were a few issues on intellectual property that I kind of said, hey, I have a writing business, which is this is part of it. That it has nothing to do with this. I can't assign my intellectual property rights to the company. Like, we need to carve this out. So, and they are, because it's not the intent. But anyway, and I have very non-standard sort of, you know, background and interests and things like that. So these things often come up. A lot of people that work in business are very one-dimensional, and there just aren't people like me. There aren't very many. So, all right. So I think that kind of covers it. I don't want to wallow in that. So let's talk something, a little bit more positive, upcoming episodes. So if you all can see that, um, and then I just noticed that I have another thing that I got to fix really quickly. That's bothering me. Y'all probably don't even notice, but I did notice. Okay, so let me find a good way to present this. All right. So, and I'm assuming you can hear my voice. Let me just look at the comments really quickly. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I definitely do not buy subscribers. If that's a tactic, that would make me feel better that people are doing that, because I am definitely not, because it's against the YouTube terms of service. So, anyway, future episodes, Chasing the Phenomenon. Chase Williams is a really interesting guy. He's had a number of varied experiences, from traditional UAP sightings to lots of DMT experiences and things like that. So, definitely a really interesting episode, and I kind of look forward to showing it to all of you. All right, look, this one, the thumbnail's meant to be provocative, but this is in no way an endorsement of either political candidate. This is just a group, not a group, but this is Christopher Robinson. If you don't already know, he was, or and is, a precognitive dreamer. He used to work full time for the MI5 and MI6 in Britain, using precognitive dreams to thwart terrorist attacks, or terror attacks, predominantly IRA. He also saw 9/11 2 years before it happened. He let the NSA know, and all sorts of contacts in the Ministry of Defense in Britain, the DoD in the United States. He's met personally people like Chris Mellon. So he had a dream in like the 2015, 2016 timeframe, before Trump won the first time. And this just goes into exactly what his dream said. It just basically, the dream said he gets 2 terms. And of course, as we all know, he did not get a second term. Um, but the dream did not say 2 consecutive terms. It just said he gets 2 terms. So Christopher, in this interview, is very clear that he has no stake in either political party. He's ambivalent. It's just that's what the dream kind of presented to him. So I'll just leave that at that. But it's still pretty interesting. There's other interesting things that he talks about that um, are worth watching. All right, the anomaly engine. Again, we go back to Chase Williams. Chase Williams is working on an AI program that scrapes various sources from the internet and seeks to come up with a comprehensive AI engine for identifying anomalous experiences. So it's not just based on UAPs, it could be on any type of anomalous experience that people have. So it could be things like ghosts, poltergeist experiences, out of body, but I think surrounding kind of non-human intelligence, abductions, all sorts of stuff. So again, another interesting episode that's in the hopper. All right, I finally talked to Jon Stewart. It's a pretty interesting interview. We talked about the alien autopsy video. I'm very clear, kind of what I think about the original video, but I'm not 100% sold on it being a fake, but I'm pretty close. I'm close to being sold. It being a fake. It looks like an animatronic alien, a la Showbiz Pizza, but I still retain enough doubt that there's a small sliver that it could be true. But we talk about that, and I think the more interesting thing about Jon Stewart is the reaction he gets when he talks about that video. He gets a really, really strange reaction from intelligence types, the kind of reaction you get when you're over the target. So, for what it's worth, that's coming. I did 2 videos with Thomas Ferrario. This is the only one I've done a thumbnail for, but there's Marley Woods, and then there's something called Moonshaft that we'll talk about. But there is a property in central Missouri in the Ozarks, pretty much a weird, kind of undisclosed location, very much like Skinwalker Ranch. And I've been trying to get Tom on for a while, but he's a really interesting guy. As kind of a little bit of a teaser, his hair used to be dark brown and now it's blonde, and there is a reason for that. There is a weird paranormal reason for that. So we will get into that. And this thumbnail, that creature that you see, is kind of my interpretation, a la Dolly, that had been spotted on the property. So there's a lot of weird stuff in there that you'll definitely want to see. And then the episode after that is called Moonshot or Moon. Sorry, I keep saying that wrong. Moonshaft. And there's this really weird apocryphal 1940 story about this Hungarian gentleman who stumbled upon this moon-shaped shaft in in this mountain in Eastern Europe that may have some interesting qualities, and it's related to Germany in World War II and kind of the effort to gain control of anomalous artifacts and things like that. So that's another pretty interesting story. Again, I don't have the thumbnail. The other thing, and this is the second time I've had something on the calendar, so I'm not certain it's going to happen. But on June 23rd, or not June, sorry, on July 23rd, I booked an interview with Gary Nolan. So I'm cautiously optimistic. And again, that'll be when I'm at my new job. So I'm just going to try to get that grandfathered in so I can do it during business hours. But that's not an interview I'm going to cancel. It's just going to be like, look, it's been on the books. I'm doing it. So, obviously I'll be more cautious about future, but that was long on the books. All right. I'm going to have Jerry back on this Sunday on the radio show. Again, it'll be spicy. I'm going to have to read Jerry the Riot Act a little bit so that he doesn't do what I did on my radio show to get a video removed. But, I think we'll just proceed a little bit more carefully. And then I've already pre-recorded this one with Daz Smith. Again, Next Gen Remote Viewing. I asked him about what happened to that Pat Price remote viewing thing that he was going to release in January. And he answers honestly and forthrightly. It's a really good interview, so definitely check it out. It's already done. It's already preloaded because I will be moving around at that time. Whitley Strieber agreed to come on June 30th, so I'm looking forward to that too. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. So that is that for all the upcoming videos. All right, so let me just take a look at the comments because I think people had a bunch of comments and yeah, but I don't know why it would be a target. Maybe it's just too. It's not focused enough. It's not lowbrow enough. I don't know. Yeah, the shorts don't make any sense. Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a single shorts video have 15,000 views. And I've been doing a lot of shorts, and I was experimenting with them this year, and so far the experiment has been a colossal failure. Yep. Okay. All right. So, geopolitical update. Oh man. Ay. So, the U.S. Saudi Arabia petrodollar agreement died a quiet death this past Sunday, June 9th, 2024. The agreement was set in July 1974 as an outgrowth of the oil crisis back then. They were to sell all of their oil denominated in US dollars. We, in turn, would provide them with a security agreement. Okay, so now that's dead. We probably guaranteed to some stupid security agreement because our elites are incompetent. But again, it's hard to find any information. Like, you have to dig to find anything on the expiration of this agreement, and there's a good reason for that. So the benefit that the so-called petrodollar had for the United States was that it created a demand, a natural demand for dollars. Because if you wanted to buy a huge quantity of oil from Saudi Arabia, you had to acquire dollars and then you had to buy it in dollars. Now you no longer have to do that. The Saudis can sell it in yuan, they can sell it in euro, they can sell it in pretty much anything they want to sell it in. So, what does that mean? Well, it generated demand for dollars when you had to buy oil. And what that did was that kept the dollar strong, right? When the supply is, when demand exceeds supply, the dollar appreciates. But after that agreement, demand for dollars is just naturally going to decrease. And when demand for dollars decreases, the dollar depreciates. And what does that mean? It means more inflation. So the fools running our government right now let that expire. And I think the reason you're not seeing any press about it, like, why wouldn't the Wall Street Journal write about that? Why would the New York Times? Where is it in the Washington Post? And my sense is that there's maybe potentially a media blackout on some of this stuff. You could find it, but you really have to search for it. Like, it's done, it's dead. So expect more inflation. And, these clowns are, I think, every 100 days borrowing another trillion in debt. And it's going to become more expensive to finance all this spending. Meanwhile, we have Somalis in Minnesota, defrauding the government by $250 billion. It's just, it saddens me to watch all this stuff. And one of the only ways out of this is basically to drive the country toward war. So, after which you can come to default or come up with a new international system. Because remember, that Saudi agreement back in 1974 was very closely associated with the U.S. and when Nixon as president was coming off the gold standard. So they needed some other way to validate the U.S. dollar. So now this could either be a slow decline or it could be a rapid decline, but it's really not good. And people are trying to minimize it and all that stuff. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm more concerned that one side tries to put the other side in prison before the election actually happens. I don't think they're that stupid, but they've consistently surprised me. So I don't know. And look, I don't like either of the candidates, to be frank, but to me, there's one side that's playing more fair than the other side. And I think if, the one party were to win this time around and did the same thing that the current party is doing, uh, it would not be tolerated. But anyway, I'm not gonna get into any of that. It's sad to watch, and I and then we have, we're sub hunting off our coast, off of Miami right now, because the Russians have a flotilla that showed up in Cuba. I mean, like, it is an absolute clown show. So anyway, I have no confidence in the clowns that are running things right now. I mean, they're just running, like, they're just driving us into oblivion. So anyway, that's my geopolitical update. So the good news is Putin hasn't begun his devastating summer offensive yet. So there's always that to look forward to. That's coming. At least it doesn't appear. Apparently, it's gotten really quiet. And it's usually that's what happens when something's about to stir. And look, I'm not rooting for Putin. Like he's a bad guy, but he's just smarter than anybody we have, unfortunately. At least I shouldn't say that we have. We have plenty of smart people, but none of them are running the government right now. So Putin's just he's got a much worse hand, and he's just running circles around these idiots. So anyway, I'll just leave it at that. All right, let's move on to the next topic. Nature of the phenomena. So what the heck? Anyway, all right. So the nature of the phenomenon. The more I kind of go into this stuff, the more of a sense that, it, and in fact, there was a Harvard study that came out today that seems to echo some of kind of the direction I'm going in, which is this crypto terrestrial hypothesis. And I don't even know if crypto terrestrial is right, but particularly with Marley Woods, when I talked to Thomas Ferrario, what he seemed to say was, and I don't know if it was in, I don't think it was in that interview, and I don't even know if it was in the second interview. It may have been offline, but the the gist of it was had been a prior disclosure attempt, kind of back in the 2000s or so, and he worked with a someone associated with the intelligence. They just went by just a code name. His name went by some code name Red, and the nature of the reality was such that these things weren't coming from other kind of outside the planet. They were coming from other wares, right? Other, I think we defined as dimensions, right? And the reason that there were some advancements that we have apparently been unable to replicate is these other wares when they come through portals and things like that. You see at Skinwalker, you see at Marley Woods. There's some heavy element that they have in this other ware that allows them to manipulate gravity that we don't have. And that's how they're able to come here, and presumably how we're not able to go there. And there is certainly this non-physical dimension to all this stuff. Some of these so-called crypto terrestrials can phase in and out. So they actually have a hair sample of that creature that I showed you. It's like 16 inches long, and they had it chemically analyzed, right? Because this thing was observed to phase through a barbed wire fence or a fence. But as it phased through, there was a piece of its hair that was left there. And they had it chemically analyzed, or the DNA analyzed, and they found no known match to anything on Earth in terms of DNA. So there's something related to that. And again, I don't know the full extent, but I don't think we're talking little green men coming from the planet Alpha Centauri, right? They're coming from co-located dimensions, and coming in through portals and things like that. Where these dimensions are they in other solar systems? Are they co-located to us? They're just vibrating at different resonant frequencies, so we can't see them. I really have no idea. But That's kind of where I'm currently sitting. That doesn't mean that we can't have something that comes from another world that visits us, etc. I have no idea. But when Grush says that they're interdimensional, and when Kirkpatrick says that we cannot prove that they're extraterrestrial, those two messages are the same. They're consistent, right? We're not. You can actually take those two statements, put them side by side, and they don't contradict each other. They're both consistent. So, and you could still have a craft that comes through one of these wormholes or portals, or excuse me, wherever you want to call it, and that's what it could be. I don't know. Take it or leave it. I do not. I can easily be convinced um, to believe something else, but I think that's kind of the best hypothesis or thesis that I currently have. Also, the other thing I wanted to say is I went on a brief trip. My son graduated high school the past week, so I went on a trip afterwards with him and a few friends to first Catalina Island. We had to pick one friend up from the Contact in the Desert conference. And when I was there, I had, if you folks follow the Y files, I had a Geno sighting. So, what do I mean by a Geno sighting? Can you all see that? Let me see if I can. You can see the Y files kind of in the middle. That's not what I want. All right, this is not super ideal, but there he is. So, and then here when we went to Catalina, let me see. Yeah, I did not select that. So, oh, there we go. All right. I captured this at night. I have no idea what this is. Kind of looks like a bell in the sky. I don't think I saw it when I was taking a picture, but Catalina Island has this sort of stuff. Has been known to have anomalous sort of activities or sightings. So I really don't know what to make of it. I don't know. What do you all think of that? No, I did not hear David Grush's new comments. What were they? High level. I want to talk. I don't think they want to talk to me, but they're certainly welcome. But again, it could be. I have no idea what that was. Right? It could be a lens flare. It could be a distant helicopter. I actually put it out on Twitter and tagged Mick West to do his very worst. Right? Because he could say, "Yeah, there was a helicopter. I checked the flight logs, and there was a helicopter there," or a distant aircraft over Catalina, but I gave him the GPS coordinates, the exact time, because I knew when I took the picture. It was 8:47 p.m. local time, and the date. And I mean, he's probably super busy, and it's not controversial. It's just a light in the sky. So it could be a satellite. I have no idea. I have no idea what that was. So, and I doubt he's going to get back to me. It's not low hanging fruit. It's just it's just some photo. So anyway, that's what that was, and that's where I am on what I think the phenomena could be. All right, so let's just jump straight to Q&A. What how are folks feeling about the geopolitical situation? Interpret that however you may like. Um, I think we have a bunch of monkeys with pistols right now. It's like giving a pistol to a monkey, and that's kind of the adults are not in charge right now. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a clown world. I mean, just there's kind of the right thing to do, and then there's the stupid thing to do. And it just consistently folks are taking the stupid route. And I don't know why. I really don't know why. And I just think we're in the fourth turning, and I think it's gonna get harder before it gets easier. But it will get easier. And you have to have hope. You gotta try to put a positive face on all this stuff. At least we're learning. At least we're learning how not to run things, right? And you should just kind of look at the national level and look at the clownish incompetence and say, how can I make sure that I don't do that at my workplace? How do I make sure that I don't run my team that way? How do I make sure that I use data in my decisions? How do I make sure that I carefully consider the second, third, and fourth order effects of the things that I'm doing, right? How do I make a decision that not only is right in the moment, but also after I play out all the implications, the possible implications in my head, will be right 10 years from now? And, our clownish elites just look at self maximization and what makes them look good in the moment. But they don't think about, the second, not even the third and fourth order effects, but they don't think about the second order effects, right? Sometimes they don't even think about the first order effects. So it's very frustrating for me to watch, right? Like taking out the Nord Stream pipeline. Like, is that worth risking a nuclear war? Is that worth risking any war at all? I mean, literally blowing up the oil infrastructure of one of your allies, Germany. Have they thought through this at all? So I'm just gonna put a bunch of random things out there. Um, because I have these random tickers that I rarely use, so I'm just using them for. You guys are all super quiet tonight. It typically picks up around 8 my time, but I don't know. And I also didn't advertise this too much. I kind of just had this out there, and there we go. What else we got? Yeah, it could be. It could be they just know it doesn't matter, so they just don't bother thinking through their decisions. I don't know. I don't know what to make of a lot of this stuff. It's it's pure insanity. A lot of it's just pure, unadulterated insanity. Of the episodes that I've done so far, which guests have been your favorite? Like, which guests would you love to see on again and again and again and again? Because of the guests that I've had on, there's a few that I think I've developed a really good rapport with that would come on, if I asked. Yeah, well, yeah. There's Peter. Sometimes like you are like Mister Synchronicity. I swear to like at least for this comment. This is the first time I've seen it. So I have something in the works with both Christopher Robbins and Daz Smith, and they're both related. That's all I can say right now. But the fact that you just pulled those two names out of a hat is creepy. Creepy in a good way, right? I don't mean that as a but literally I'm working on a project with both of them separately, but it's the same sort of thing. So I can't say anything more, but all I can say, well, yeah, I can't. If I say anything more, it could harm the project. So I'll just leave it at that. It's something to look forward to. Do I really have more on Twitter than on YouTube? Yeah, I have to look. That's ridiculous. That's like it's so. I mean, that just figures. That just figures. Oh, all right. Well, that's yeah, interesting. Moon Man is getting like a billion texts like I am right now. Texts that I want to read, but I have no bandwidth because obviously all my bandwidth is right here. I wonder what I'm getting on Facebook. I bet you Facebook it's like zero. Facebook is the most useless platform. Let's see. Let's see. Where am I? Yeah, I don't think I'm getting like. I don't think there's anybody watching on Facebook at all. Maybe except me. So I'm just logging out of Facebook because no one's watching there. Oh yeah, I think that's the only way. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Today, the UAP they were trying to put more UAP provisions into the next, I think, National Defense Authorization Act, and it was all killed. It's all like shot down. Look, we're on the verge. We're getting pushed toward war with Russia, and everything else is being deprioritized. So, um, I just know if you see some sort of event where it looks like Russia did something, attacked one of our targets or stuff like that, I would be highly suspicious. Highly suspicious. I think our clowns running things right now are just looking for an excuse to start something. And so again, beware the false flags. Beware the false flag sort of things, like Gulf of Tonkin sort of stuff. The basically the false flag that began the Vietnam War. Um, I'm going to have a very, very high standard for what it takes because if we get into a tussle with the Russians, you know, we don't have remotely the number of forces that we would require, and as a result, we would have to invoke a draft because that sort of conflict involves high intensity operations where you burn through people and material very, very, very quickly. Also, apparently, China stopped exporting gunpowder to us. So there's that. There's all sorts of lovely, lovely things that these clowns have not thought through. So again, I'm a former army officer. It's not like I'm like some peacenik or anything like that. I just don't. I don't like watching dumb shit. I don't like people throwing away other people's lives for stupid reasons. Right? Certainly not the Donbass. Do we really care if the Russians get the Donbass? How about we just come up with an agreement, come to the table like we should have a year ago, and it just ended this thing? Instead, we've virtually depopulated the male half of Ukraine. For what? To give Russia a bloody nose? The sanctions were so punishing, not punishing, but were so ill conceived that we started seizing dollar denominated assets from people, which discourages people from keeping things in dollar denominated assets. So, I would be shocked if bin Salman, or MBS, Mohammed bin Sultan, I probably Salman, I probably screwed up his name, but if MBS didn't see that as a reason, as one of many reasons that he probably should not renew that security agreement or the petrodollar agreement. So, and the fact that you're not seeing it in the news means it's bad. It's worse than we think. It's a lot worse than we think. Otherwise, they'd report on it and act as if it didn't mean there's no thing but a chicken wing. But it's bad. And I've been talking to a lot of folks who are fellow graduates of my MBA institution who work in the financial industry, and we've been talking about this de-dollarization thing for a while. For a few years, in fact, and we could kind of see it coming, and it's not good. So, yeah, it's just kind of like this clown show. And then just wait until the power crunch comes in 18 months when we start. I hope somebody comes up with a solution. Um, but I think people are going to have to start coming up with things on their own. We can't rely on the government. The government's not going to. It's not coming to save you. It's coming to tax you, and that's it. There's probably some way to tap zero point energy. I just don't know if we know how to do it. I mean, the Kashmir effect is one. It's just evidence of that, but I don't know if they know how to harness it. And if they do know how to harness it, they're keeping it secret, which is unconscionable. I don't think they're keeping it secret though, because if they kind of came out and said, "Surprise, we've had this all along," they would get ripped apart. They would get absolutely torn apart by the population. So, yeah, not sure. Not sure what to make of that. So I'm going to check on Twitter now to see how this thing is going. Yeah, more on Twitter than on YouTube, for sure. Although thank you all for forwarding it around. I think that's part of it. People are sharing it. I think the majority of people right now are watching this on Twitter. Oh man, that's a great question, Lucid. Would be my first question. I mean, what are they and where do they come from? If I could fit that in one question, I'd be very interested in learning more. And then the next question would be, who are we and where do we come from? To the extent that they know. But my understanding is that they never really, the answer to that question is always, oh, you wouldn't understand, which is highly suspicious, right? You could say something that would make some sense, you know? So let's see. I mean, like YouTube is just not pushing this at all. Let me see if I can get to this without. All right, good. I can watch it without being. Yeah, there's like 8 watching on YouTube. Thanks, YouTube. Thanks, algorithm, for promoting it. Unreal. Unreal. Yeah, everybody's on Twitter. Very, very strange. Well, the thing is that, yeah, I would ask a question that no human knows, so if it verified is true. Stephen Mera actually tried doing that. And some of the answers came out as true, but others were false. So NHIs lie. They lie often. So the other thing too is you might ask them a question that only you know the answer to, but if they're telepathic, they might know the answer. It's a tough problem. It is a very difficult problem. You need like a philosopher to weigh in on it, to kind of do like a logic test that would allow you to ask the perfect, correct question. So I don't, it is certainly a conundrum. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. What should I ask Gary Nolan when I talk to him? Anybody have, I mean, I sent a bunch of pre questions to at least make the interview stimulating for him, so he didn't have to retread certain areas that he covered for in a bazillion other interviews. But what should I ask him? What sort of things should I ask him? Nothing? You guys got nothing? What do folks think about Jason Sands? Is that somebody I should reach out to and try to interview? There have been a lot of weird reactions to that guy, like weird negative reactions. And I haven't, spend any time trying to figure that individual out. Nothing? Now everybody's quiet. Nobody knows what to say. How do I make this live stream more exciting and more dynamic? To get people get excited. I don't think we're going to. I don't think the government's going to do anything with disclosure this year, given the geopolitical shit show. They just have so much other fires on their plate right now. That's just one that they can't. They simply can't handle. My worry is that there won't be a government left after this year to actually disclose. I think it's a very small possibility, but I think there's a non-zero probability that that could happen because they just don't have the credibility they used to have. They have zero credibility because they've lied about everything from the cocktail um, and the time of troubles in 2020 to a bunch of other random things. So it's just really tough. It's really tough to figure out what's going on. Um, let's see if there's anything else I can play with here. Uh, I'm just gonna play this just to play it. Was that very satisfying for folks? I just had to throw that in there because why not? Why not? Because it's all four-dimensional chess at this point. We all we all know that. Let's see what else is going on in the UAP universe. Yeah, let's look at this advanced civilization thing. Why is this like? Why is MSN? I'm like getting constant MSN. Oh well, that's because I'm using well, that's Safari. So why? All right, let's just look at the news. I'm trying to get like some sort of a semi-credible source. Uh, okay, here we go. I mean, futurism. Do I really want that to be my source? Oh, why are we searching? Oh, no wonder I'm getting crap. Yeah, for some reason, like Yahoo is now my search engine. I mean, the hell? That was super weird. Yeah, this Harvard study, I'll go with Daily Mail. I mean, like, it's either Daily Mail or the New York Post. All right, let me just do a quick. Thanks, Woo Riders DG. You have a good night. Yeah, most of the search engines are useless because they've been monetized and they just send you to places where people have spent money. So yeah, I don't know. For some reason, like my search has been taken over by. All right, well, I'm going to try to share this. Wow, I didn't really need to see that dude. What the hell? All right. Um. Okay. All right. I think that kind of does the job. All right. Let's get rid of that garbage. All right. So this is a Harvard study, and so it's a new research paper. This is a 1 in 10 chance the true solution to the UFO issue could be cryptoterrestrial. Okay, meaning they belong to an advanced species hiding on Earth. This is what I talked about earlier. Okay. Yeah, 80% of our oceans are unmapped. Yes, there's plenty of space for this like stealth civilization. Yeah, so submerged stone structures. I just kind of want to see the report, like the actual report. Kind of underground civilizations. Okay, let's see. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, so Dr. Michael Masters is a co-author. Maybe I jumped too far ahead. I've interviewed Dr. Masters on this channel. Great, you know, great discussion. Let's see. Yeah, sorry, I'm like jumping all around, but you all can look this up. But you'd think that they would have a link. I don't think they have a link. Just going to scroll through this very. Yeah, I don't think Harvard puts out a study like this unless they know something we don't, or they were encouraged to do something. Okay, so all right, so Tim Lomas and Brendan Case, these are the Harvard folks. So maybe not that. Oh, this fucking guy they keep showing me. Excuse my language. I just get really irritated when I see certain ads. All right. Good Lord. Show me. Okay. Let's look up Tim Loomis. Let's see if he's got something. All right. Yeah, he's not going to put this in a select research paper. Looks like he has not. He's not updated this. But he's not new to the topic. So this guy might be an interesting guy to Tim Loomis. Anyway, I don't know what to make of any of that. Let's see. Yeah, there's been like at least 6 major cataclysms, and the animals and species that typically survive are burrowing animals. So if there was some advanced civilization that was good at digging tunnels and burrowing underground, they could have survived one of these cataclysms. Ooh, I do not see the link though. Damn it. I very much want to see the link. Can you put it in the comments? Plant watering citizen? Yeah, agree, Lucid. Let me see if I can go to the YouTube channel and find this thing. Oops, I'm like looking in all the wrong places. All right. Okay. Let me see if I can find a ResearchGate link. All right, I see plant watering citizen is. Oh, that's annoying. Okay, see if you can post it without the HTTP, and then I'll supply it in the comments. Like, you gotta love YouTube. Like, just constant censoring for no reason whatsoever. For no, I mean, because I really want to see this ResearchGate article. Like, I really want to see it, and I want to share it with you too. Maybe if I look at, let's see. Let's see if they actually give me the. If I just knew what the name of the paper was. Oh, here we go. In their article, there's the link. Oh, interesting. Come on. Wow. Like, I'm just trying to, like, all right. Sorry, I'm like fighting through this thing. There we go. My apologies that I'm like trying to manipulate and get this thing, but I found it, and then of course I opened the wrong Adobe. I opened the harassment version of Adobe as opposed to the old version. That does not harass me. Okay. All right. We are in business. Okay. Yeah, I got it. I got it. I got it. I'm going to share it very soon. Okay. Just bear with me. I just have to find this. Here we go. I'm just going to see what it looks like for you. Um, that's probably good enough. Maybe put my little picture down there. Hi everyone. Then you can see me talking. All right, let me just make this a little bit friendlier for folks. And then I will. Okay. All right. That looks good. Let's go through it. All right. So we all know Michael Masters. We got Tim Lomas, Brendan Case. All right. All right. So it's all about the crypto terrestrial hypothesis. Okay. So we're just talking about human man made technology. Okay. So two classes: conventional terrestrial explanation, so human made technology, or an extraterrestrial explanation. Third, okay, minority class and unconventional terrestrial explanation outside the prevailing consensus view of the universe. This is the ultra terrestrial hypothesis, which includes as a subset the crypto terrestrial hypothesis, namely the notion that UAP may reflect activities of intelligent beings concealed in stealth here on Earth, underground, and or near its environments, e.g., the moon, or even walking among us, passing as humans. Although this idea is likely regarded as skeptically by most scientists, such are the nature of UAP that we are the possibility should not be summarily dismissed. Instead, deserves genuine consideration in spirit of epistemic humility and openness. It's a good approach. Okay. Okay, so this is citing Bernardo Kastrup. God, just so much like This is tough for someone who's used to like just getting shit done. This kind of like build up and stuff like that is really really tough for me. Let's see. Yeah, it's definitely not science. It's not very scientific. It's like a sociology type thing. Yeah, I mean the thing about where Michael Masters' science fits in is talks about the structure, like cranial structure and things like that, and neoteny, the process of neoteny, right, where more advanced versions of prior evolved or evolving creatures tend to, as they evolve into higher order beings, tend to look more like children in their current children in the future and things like that. Which is why he kind of says grays are more childlike looking, um, as they evolve from human stock or whatever. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, there's just a lot of like buildup, and it's like, okay, well, there's a mistake. That's the other thing. I'm like a hawk. That should be one, two, three, four. It's instead of it's A. All right. Okay, so that's a mistake. Somebody needs to edit this. Okay. Interesting. There are actually four distinct crypto-terrestrial hypotheses. Okay. All right. So this is just establishing that yes, UAPs are real. Got it. Great. All right. We all know this stuff. Okay. He's talking about the NDAA. Yeah, this is more of like a humanities sociology type paper than it is. Yeah, I think this is just highly speculative. I'm not sure why the media made a huge. Yeah, I think folks who have been following this chat, like this is nothing for folks who have been following this topic for a while. This is nothing new. But I think for folks who are not following this topic, it's paradigm shifting. What's this? Some scientists suspect Venus resurfaced possibly only 100,000 years ago. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Maybe they can't leave Earth. I don't know. Anyway, let's just kind of take this. Oh, whoa. We got Richard Shaver. That's interesting. Okay. Da, da, da. Yeah, this guy actually comes up a lot more than you think. Right. So Ray Palmer discovered this guy, Richard Shaver of Amazing Stories magazine, and he argued had built, that prehistoric races built cities inside Earth, but fled to another planet due to concerns about radiation damage to the sun. Yeah, so it's like science is written as science fiction. But yeah, I don't know how you would know that, but you have John Keel with Underground, or these are all, yeah, this is all kind of in the literature. If you kind of do a deep dive in the literature, this is kind of what you get. Mac Tonnies is the one that famously wrote his cryptoterrestrial book. He's no longer with us. So a lot of this stuff is, sorry to speed through it, folks. I'm just trying to, interesting. So Robert Martin of Chicago's Field Museum says we have fossil evidence for only about 5% of all extinct primates. Huh. It's the Silurian hypothesis. Long buried intelligent reptiles called Silurians. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely something in the record, that historical record, that we are definitely missing. Yeah, we interviewed Dr. John Brandenburg about the face on Mars, the faces on Mars, right? There's also one. You have Sidonia, but you also have the face on Galaxis Chaos. Yeah, there's. I mean, again, a lot of this stuff. Oh, this is not great, guys. It's just trash. It is trash blowing in the wind. That's the jellyfish. Like, come on, guys. That's not a serious. That's not a serious thing. Although the paraphysical hypothesis, I think, is has some weight to it. This shadow biosphere, shadow biome. This is kind of consistent with the Marley Woods and Skinwalker environments. All right, now there's a lot of ancient alien kind of stuff. Oh, did they really cite Joe Rogan in an academic paper? I like Joe Rogan and all, but in an academic paper? All right, let's see. Yeah, that's a fair point. And if we're citing Joe Rogan in academic papers, we are also not in a good place in science. And not necessarily because Joe Rogan's wrong, but it could be that you're citing a non-academic person. Traditionally, that would be a pretty bad practice. On the other hand, the fact that they felt compelled to cite a non-academic source um, also is a testament to how far our academic folks have fallen, in the sense that they can't cite another academic because no academic is really. Um, there are few academics who have made a serious study of this topic because they've been discouraged, right? So they have to rely on sources like non-academic sources. So, all right, let's see what else we have. Huh. Yeah, there's other stuff that they find that it's like 500,000 years ago, before the supposed emergence of Homo sapiens. Yeah, there's a lot of this random stuff that's just crazy old. Yeah, apparently the Russians have gone the farthest in the Kola super deep borehole in Russia, 7.6 miles down. Good lord. Yeah, there's just 20% of living mammal species remain undescribed. Yeah, there's just a ton of stuff we just don't know. I mean, this is just like a who's who of anomalous reports of things that challenge our reality, if that makes any sense. I don't even know what this magical terrestrials. Okay, we're talking about elves and fauns and fairies and yeah, who knows? Got to the conclusion really fast. All right, so I guess these are the distinct. So human cryptoterrestrials. This is kind of the Atlantean thesis, I guess. The second one, hominid or theropod cryptoterrestrials. So this is the non-human system. So this could be like the reptilian thesis, the Silurian hypothesis, maybe, and extraterrestrial or extra terrestrial, or our intertemporal descendants. This is like humans from the future. And this is more like the fallen angel hypothesis. There you go. I summed it up. That's it. Lots of signs that you got end notes. Huh. I never knew that Carl Nell had a classificatory taxonomy. Huh. This is actually pretty interesting here. This is what they mean by interdimensional. This is the first time I think I've ever seen something that even bothers to classify this. So you have a portable wormhole, you have colliding universes, you have parallel universes. QFT many worlds. So I don't know if that's quantum something. I don't know. Time travel, scale invariance. Yeah, unobserved vibratory modes. I've talked about stuff like that. It's actually pretty interesting. All right. Anyway, finding the Nell thing, I think was worth this exercise. So most of you stuck along, so that's good. And let's remove that. Go back here. All right. All right, just going back to the comments. Huh. Yeah, I'm not an academic, but I'm guessing a peer review time of 2 months is not very long. Yeah, I mean, I think these academics kind of play the game in the sense that they kind of set this stuff up before they go in and yeah, who knows? Who knows? Mm, that's very weird. All right, what else do we got? What other questions that people want to go through? If I can actually find my way back to where I was. Uh, I mean, according to the government, they don't exist. So, of course, I would proceed with caution. But if we ever hope to know what's out there and the government's not doing its job, i.e., protecting us and letting us know what they know, I wouldn't hesitate. But that's just me. I'm not. Maybe I'm being stupid. Um, I think our Big Bang was just simply matter ejected out of a white hole, which is just the opposite end of a black hole. But I have no evidence to back up that claim. And then parallel dimensions, I don't know. There could be just different vibratory resonances of the same matter or coming in from entirely different universes that are in the bulk, right? So I think hyperspace theory says there's this, the bulk, which is a higher dimension, and you have universes kind of just floating out like bubbles, and sometimes they collide and attach, and when they do, you can tunnel between them in like a wormhole or whatever. But I don't know. Yeah, we're strangely our circadian rhythms are strangely tied to Mars and not Earth. Much closer attuned to Mars. So I don't know. I do not know. But thank you all for helping me find that paper. I thought that was pretty useful to go through and fairly instructive. So uh, let's see how we. I have California quail outside going nuts. I'm kind of silently hoping that the. That's really kind of annoying. I don't know. That's a good question. At some point, probably. I mean, but sufficiently so far in the future that we wouldn't even recognize it. Anyway, I have these California quail I can hear out back. I'm hoping that great horned owl has a very healthy meal tonight because they're kind of annoying. Okay. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but probably not. But something's going on out back. These little shysters are going nuts. Dude, now people are joining. I don't even like. I don't get this whole thing at all. I just don't. Now a lot more people are on than were on earlier. Not sure why, but it looks like most of them are on, and most of them are on Twitter. So it's like, what's up with YouTube? Yeah, it's just like no one's watching YouTube. Just get Rogers comment in there. Well, I think the issue with Venus is you get cooked. It's just like the surface temperatures. It's like the greenhouse effect on steroids. And maybe, yeah. They never do. Nobody really does talk about Venus, though. I don't even know if they could, how far that they've actually gone through the atmosphere, because apparently the atmosphere is so thick that it's difficult to get sensors in beyond that. So who knows? Yeah, unreal. Twitter is, it's like 5x the views I'm getting on Twitter at any given time that I'm getting on YouTube. There's something wrong with YouTube right now. It's just like I feel like they have their finger on the scale. Oh yeah, yeah. There certainly could have been. I bet you if once we have the technology to get through that dense atmosphere, we might find some stuff that surprises us. I mean, we're still finding stuff that surprises us in the oceans and in digs and underground. Again, I just talked about an episode I did with Thomas Ferrario on moonshaft. Like they could hear turbines like deep underground in a mountain just running. Like they've been running forever. So I don't know. I just wish our government was more, would share some of this stuff because we are wandering blindly through our reality. Like, we literally have no idea, at least common people, about what's going on. Yeah. I not per se. I have not investigated, but I've been there's a hotel in Tonopah that I stayed at for some convention that was supposedly haunted. Didn't really maybe saw a face in the mirror, but could have just been smoke, whatever. I got a picture of it from somebody. Um, and then there was one weird thing that happened at home, like in the last month. Um, and as does tend to happen during these things. And I wrote about it in my community notes. In my community notes, but on my community tab, I have a post about it where I heard rustling outside. I have like a balcony that's adjacent to like our master bedroom. So I heard at night a rustling outside. I thought it was raccoons. So I went out to go and see what was making the rustling sound. Couldn't find anything. Could have still been raccoons or an opossum or something. Who knows? But couldn't find anything. Then I saw a light in the sky. Could have been a distant helicopter. Could have been a drone. Could have been wasn't an aircraft because of the way it was moving. It was just kind of like zigzagging, not fast, just lazily. And so I took a picture of it. I put it on the community tab, and then um, went back inside. Before I'd gone out, I was watching Netflix. I just paused the Apple TV, put the controller down, went outside, did the thing. When I came back in, I was no longer on Netflix. So I tried to turn it back on. The TV wouldn't turn back on. And my wife was sleeping. I woke her up. I'd asked her if anybody had been in the room, if anybody had, and apparently the Apple TV had been unplugged, but there was, the plug is not on the floor, so I couldn't have stumbled on it, couldn't have like yanked it, but it was just unplugged. Something unplugged that cord. Uh, there was no earthquake. There was no conventional explanation how it happened, and I didn't feel any fear. I didn't feel anything weird, but it felt like it was like a message, not a negative message, but like a keep going sort of thing. But I don't know what to make of that. But that was probably the most paranormal thing that ever happened to me, which is not that. I mean, there's other stuff that I would say that's the most concrete paranormal thing that ever happened to me. There have been other times too where I would kind of feel, usually when no one else is home. One night I woke up around 3:40, 3:45 a.m. local time, and I kind of felt like a presence on my right. Didn't see anything, but it just like an ominous presence, and like instantaneously, it felt like it was right outside my window. There was like a pack of coyotes that just went nuts, just went crazy, and it was just weird. That was probably the most ominous sort of thing that happened to me. But again, it could have been all. I mean, the coyotes certainly weren't in my head, but the other thing could have been in my head. I don't, I don't know. But yeah, but nothing crazy. Uh, I've been to on the outskirts of Skinwalker Ranch. I spent the night there, uh, and I had there was a chair that was blown at me into a fire, and I was on the other side of the fire. But again, it could just been the wind. I don't know. So the stuff that happens to me is all plausibly deniable. You can convince yourself of a conventional explanation for it. Anyway, so that is what it is. But I would go to some of those locations. Um, you know, depending on what the lore is. Like if there was some like I was raised Catholic, so if there was some like demonic house or something like that, I wouldn't touch it. I would stay the hell away from it. Interesting choice of words, but that stuff freaks me out. I don't want to. But if there were like UFO sightings, NHI, and stuff like that, I would not be afraid. I would be like, oh, that sounds interesting. So again, I went to Catalina Island. That's definitely a hot spot. And I had that thing I showed at the beginning, that bell looking thing. But who knows? Yeah, yeah, it's the morning. Yeah, it's the morning star. Yeah, Venus. Yeah, I mean, for all we know, the NHIs could be what we call demons. I don't know, and I don't mean that like from religion. It just could be that religion called them demons, and they're just something else, but have demonic aspects to them. I don't know. I really don't know. Let's see. Yeah, I would. I mean, depending on how it makes you feel, I would like bring a priest, fucking have him bless the house. I know it sounds superstitious, but I don't know. I do not know. I just don't. I don't mess around with that stuff. But again, the NHI stuff, it's less scary to me. But there's been some really horrific stuff that happened at that Marley Ranch or that Marley Woods place. Like there's all sorts of mutilations, but they found like a beloved horse that it would have been like it had been microwave ovened. Like they find all its parts like all over the place, but it would be like if you stuck a horse into a giant microwave oven and turned it on until it exploded. Something like that happened at Marley's Woods or Marley Woods, and it was in such a way that they couldn't have. They didn't see it happen. They just saw the aftermath. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, could be related to like double slit experiment. It doesn't manifest unless you allow it to manifest. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Let me see how. All right, does anybody want to talk about anything else? I think now might be the time to cut things short. So I'll give it another minute and then could do going once, going twice, that sort of thing. All right, going once, going twice. All right, all. It's been a pleasure, and I will see you soon. Good night.
Breaking news.